Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our TED Talk, How AI Will Enhance Response Quality and the Unexpected Reason That Creates Trouble for the Market Research.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, everyone. How you doing?
So, in October, I got married. Beautiful wife.
Great wedding.
And we were planning our honeymoon. And we received this gift, which you can see on the slide there, which on its face looks like the perfect wedding gift. We're going to Cape Town for our honeymoon. It's a guide to Cape Town. And so, ostensibly, it's a great gift. Now, the problem with it is, it looks exactly like this book here. And in reality, it's a completely fake guide to Cape Town, written entirely by AI. All of the reviews, fake. The author, fake. All of the pictures, copied from other books online. There's a massive industry on Amazon that exists copying existing texts or products and making them low quality with essentially zero insights using AI. So I only figured out this was AI once we got the book from my wife's mother, who was the gift giver. And the problem is AI content is basically indistinguishable. It's very hard to detect. So even Amazon, who has hundreds of people looking at reviews using AI, using humans, can no longer distinguish between complete garbage, like this book, and real quality content like the other book that actually existed. Luckily, we disposed of it and we didn't follow it for our Cape Town honeymoon, but we still had a great trip. So nice to meet you all. I'm Henry. I'm with the Verisol team here. I used to work at Bain & Company, so I was on the buyer side of surveys for many years, and now we at Verisol help companies do survey fraud detection.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joey Maddox. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Verisol. I also used to work at Bain & Company and then worked at a private equity fund called Certain Capital, doing a lot of market research and surveys as well. And we're going to talk to you today about how AI enhances response quality and why that's actually trouble for market research. So which of these survey responses is AI? You've got what is your favorite color? Navy blue without question. It's professional and classic. That's kind of how Henry talks. Navy is basically my whole closet, lol. Navy blue, it looks good and works with anything. Well, the tricky part is all three of these are actually AI. It's essentially impossible to tell whether it's a human or whether it's a bot. And trying to use a writing detector is extremely difficult and frankly hasn't worked very well in the past.
Yeah, I mean, literally OpenAI, obviously the maker of ChatGPT, was running an underground project at their company to build an AI text classifier, and they couldn't do it. They shut down the project. They basically said, this is not possible. There is nothing that distinguishes AI text from human text, and you're probably seeing that today, and you're probably feeling that pain is like the responses are becoming nearly indistinguishable between good and bad.
And so what's happening in the meantime is the responses look like they're high quality. You look at the open ends, and they all kind of make sense. They sound like real people. Maybe in the past, it was really obvious that there was a bot running, and it was gibberish, and the response wasn't relevant or it wasn't consistent. But now you have responses that all look pretty good. And so when you clean them up and you pass them off to the client, it looks like they're getting a survey where everything makes sense. But the issue is these actually aren't very representative of a human sample. Because, for example, if you ask what's your favorite color, every single LLM bot responds navy blue. They love navy blue.
This is literally, we went to 6 different AIs and asked what their favorite color was. They all responded navy blue. And so you start to see that, like, if you can't detect what's AI and what's not, you're going to get this horribly misrepresented sample of what AI thinks is the best color to say to sound human, right? And so it's just completely unrepresentative.
And on an individual basis, you might not actually be able to tell if the response is human or if it's fake. However, when you consolidate everything together, the insight quality drops tremendously. So you have this weird dynamic where response quality is going up, but insight quality is going down. And who's the one to actually discover it? The end client. So in the case of this book that Henry's mother-in-law unfortunately gave them, It was Henry who found out, and when he looked at the book, it didn't make any sense, and we'll pass it around after. It's a pretty tough read. He read it cover to cover, and then he found out. No, you can tell right from the beginning that it's fake. And this also happens in market research. It happened to me personally when I was at Bain & Company. We were running a 3-week survey for a private equity client. Obviously, it's one of 4 different work streams we were running. It's really critical. And we got a bunch of gibberish back in the responses. The responses didn't make sense. It was supposed to be a bunch of optometrists, and we realized that it was actually people pretending to be doctors, and the responses didn't add up. And so the insights didn't make any sense. And so we had to charge back the entire survey. And I'm sure that trickled all the way down to the panels because our survey provider was not thrilled either.
And this is the threat you all are facing every day, right? And you're probably seeing it on the ground. The responses seem to make more sense. It's really, your end research teams used to be able to distinguish between what was clear fraud, what was someone who didn't actually speak the right language, what was someone who didn't know optometry. But now with AI, they have perfect information. They can pretend to be any career set. They have perfect language. They can pretend to be anywhere in the world. And they've got perfect memory and can be consistent and kind of logically correct over time. So when you start to look at content, and obviously it's table stakes, but when you start to look at the content, it becomes very challenging to see what's fraud and what's not. And so this is kind of what we're seeing on the ground. And the framework we take here is ABC, actor, behavior, and content. This is how we think about stopping fraud, right? Content's a key component. But as AI gets better, those responses get better. You need to shift your focus from content to actor and behavior. And we'll dive into a little bit more about exactly how to do that, but it's really how do you think about the respondent? So shifting from response to respondent over time to make sure that's a real person, a unique human, a trusted actor that actually knows about the things you need them to know about. And what we see is this actually works, right? So when we look across our clients, content detection can catch 10, 20% of the fraud that gets through, but another 20% of that is essentially undetectable and only discernible when you have those granular insights at the actor and behavior level that can clearly identify this is a fraud farm from Nigeria, or this is a bot farm that's taking advantage of your survey at scale. The problem is it's very hard to do, right? As you all know, you all have this in place. It feels like you're adding solutions all the time. You're doing XYZ, you've got device fingerprinting, you've got bot detection. It still feels like, how does none of it work? And it's because the fraud is getting extremely sophisticated. You're probably doing email verification. You're checking, they're using Gmails. You can buy an aged Gmail for 7 cents online. It has social accounts, it's got history, it's got names, literally 7 cents to get a verified Gmail.
Or you can go to tempmail.com and just get a free email right now.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go to tempmail and just look it up on Google, you'll get a floating inbox and you can get an email verification right away.
Yeah, and then you also have proxy and VPN detection, which everyone has in place. But the problem with that is you're not actually able to catch the things you really need to, like residential proxies, mobile proxies. And that's because the fraudsters actually have subscriptions to the same products you do. We actually have fraudsters on our payroll, so we know how they operate. We have double agents that inform us. These fraudsters actually have subscriptions to the products you all are using. They're looking, hey, is my IP going to be clean on this service? And they actually know whether to swap in or out that IP. So
they don't touch our code base, though, just to be clear.
What'd you say?
The fraudsters don't touch the code base.
Yeah, right. Our fraudsters don't actually write our production
intelligence.
code. They just inform us on what they do. Advanced bots can beat CAPTCHAs. We've built our own bot that can go to literally any site. It uses Google's Gemini to beat Google CAPTCHAs, right? It's how ironic is it that Google is both making autonomous vehicles that are detecting stoplights in real time and using traffic signals, and then they're also telling you that CAPTCHAs where you're solving a stoplight somehow work against bots. It's completely meaningless. And then you've got device fingerprinting, which I'm sure everyone has in place today, but somehow doesn't feel like it's working. fraudsters are using anti-detect browsers, they can spin up new fingerprints completely out of thin air that look perfect and are undetectable. And the solution is a totally new approach. We call it active testing. It's really about validating the things you're getting from the user using advanced actor and behavior detection. And although it's hard, it really is kind of the only solution we've seen work at scale. So it's going beyond things like straight line detection to how does the user literally hold the device? How do they move the mouse over time? Does that actually model to be a human or not? And so just to summarize here, we've talked about how AI is going to actually meaningfully influence and improve the individual response quality, but at that same time will drive down the insight quality. And so only focusing on those response and content may leave you shorthanded against sophisticated fraud. And so the shift from response to respondent quality is where we've seen clients have great success.
Yeah, and you're always going to want some level of response integrity, right? You're always going to want to look at content because you can have a real person who fills out a survey too quickly, or they fill it out and they're sleepy and they're tired and the responses make no sense. But you need to have both. You need to augment what you're doing today on the content side with the actor and the behavior side.
And that's it. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the time.